The old house stood on a hill overlooking the village, grey and imposing. It had been there for as long as anyone could remember, a silent sentinel watching over the lives below. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, sharing stories of its past grandeur and the mysteries that now shrouded it. Its windows, like vacant eyes, stared out at the world. Once they had sparkled with life, reflecting the laughter and joy of the family that lived within. Now they were empty, shattered and lifeless, as if the soul of the house had long departed. The paint peeled, revealing rotting wood beneath. Each flake that fell was a testament to the passage of time, to the neglect and abandonment that had taken hold. The once sturdy beams now groaned under the weight of years, whispering tales of better days. The garden, once grand, was now a tangle of weeds and thorns. Roses that had once bloomed in vibrant colours were now choked by the relentless grip of nature reclaiming its own. Paths that had been carefully tended were lost beneath a sea of green, a wild and untamed jungle. This was a place of shadows and secrets. Every corner seemed to hold a story, every creak of the floorboards a whisper of the past. The walls, if they could speak, would tell of love and loss, of joy and sorrow, of life and death, a place where time had stopped. The rooms were frozen in a moment, untouched by the present. Dust lay thick on every surface, a silent witness to the years that had passed. Cobwebs draped like ghostly curtains, adding to the eerie stillness, and where something lingered, unseen, but ever present. It was a feeling, a sense of being watched, of not being alone. The air was thick with it, a presence that could not be ignored. It was as if the house itself was alive, aware of every step taken within its walls. The wind howled through the eaves like a mournful cry. It carried with it the voices of the past, the echoes of those who had once called this place home. On stormy nights the house seemed to come alive, groaning and creaking as if in pain. The silence inside was heavy, oppressive. It pressed down on you, making it hard to breathe. It was a silence that spoke volumes, that told of years of solitude and abandonment. It was a silence that could drive a person mad. The air itself felt thick with dust and decay. Each breath was a struggle, a reminder of the house's long neglect. The smell of mould and rot was pervasive, a constant presence that clung to everything. It was as though the house itself was breathing in and out, a slow, rhythmic rasp, waiting for what no one knew. But the feeling was undeniable. The house was alive and it was waiting for someone, for something, for the next chapter in its long haunted history. Emily, a writer seeking solitude, found herself drawn to the house. It stood at the edge of a small village, its Victorian architecture both grand and foreboding. The house seemed to call to her, promising the peace she so desperately needed. Its isolation appealed to her. Nestled among ancient trees, it was far removed from the hustle and bustle of modern life. Here she could escape the distractions that plagued her in the city. She dismissed the stories, the whispers of the villagers. They spoke in hushed tones, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. They warned her of the house's dark past, of the tragedies that had befallen its previous occupants. They spoke of hauntings, of a darkness that clung to the house, tales of restless spirits and unexplained occurrences. But Emily was not one to be swayed by superstition. But Emily was not afraid. She craved the quiet, the solitude that would allow her to write. She believed that the house, with its eerie charm, would be the perfect muse for her next novel. The solitude that would allow her to write. She envisioned long hours at her desk, the only sounds being the scratching of her pen and the occasional creak of the old house settling. She stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. The house seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting to see what she would do next. The air was cold, damp. It wrapped around her like a shroud, sending a chill through her bones. But she welcomed it, seeing it as a sign that she was truly alone. The scent of mildew hung heavy. It was a smell she would have to get used to, but it was a small price to pay for the peace she sought. She ran her fingers along the dusty banister. The dust clung to her skin, a tangible reminder of the house's long abandonment. A shiver ran down her spine. It was as if the house was trying to communicate with her, to share its secrets. But she ignored it. She was home now. This house, with all its quirks and mysteries, was where she belonged. She felt a strange sense of kinship with it, as if they were both searching for something. The first night was the hardest. The silence was almost unbearable. It pressed in on her, suffocating her. And then she heard it. A whisper, faint at first, coming from beneath the floorboards. She stopped, listening intently. There it was again, a soft, sibilant sound. Emily told herself it was the wind, or mice. But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. She tried to ignore it, to focus on her writing. But the whispers continued, night after night, growing louder, more insistent. Days turned into weeks. The once vibrant house now stood as a silent witness to the passage of time. The whispers followed Emily everywhere. They were soft, almost imperceptible, but always present, like a shadow she couldn't shake off. They seemed to be coming from the old cellar door, hidden beneath the stairs. She tried the handle, locked. The door seemed to hold secrets, secrets that were desperate to be uncovered. She searched for the key. Every nook and cranny of the house became a potential hiding spot. In every drawer, every cupboard. She hoped to find the key that would unlock the mysteries of the cellar, but it was nowhere to be found. Frustration grew as each search ended in vain. The house seemed to watch her. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the lights felt like the house was alive. Its silence was no longer empty. It was filled with an eerie presence, a feeling that something or someone was always there. It was filled with unseen eyes, eyes that seemed to follow her every move, watching, waiting. Her footsteps echoed through the empty rooms. Each step she took was met with an echo, amplifying her sense of isolation. She felt a growing sense of dread. Something was wrong. The air was thick with tension, and her heart raced with an unexplainable fear. She could feel it in her bones, the cold, creeping sensation that something was terribly amiss. The house held its breath, and so did she, waiting for the unknown to reveal itself. The whispers grew louder, clearer. Now she could almost make out words. "Find it!" they hissed. "Find the key!" Emily's fear turned to a strange sort of determination. She would find the key, she would unlock the cellar door, and she would uncover the secrets of this house. She scoured the house from top to bottom. She checked behind paintings, under carpets, inside books. The whispers seemed to urge her on, guiding her, leading her on a terrifying treasure hunt. One evening, as Emily paced the living room, her foot caught on something. A loose floorboard. She pried it open. Beneath it she saw a metal ring, a trapdoor. This was it. The source of the whispers, the heart of the house's darkness. Her hands trembled as she pulled on the ring. The trapdoor creaked open, releasing a gust of stale air. The whispers were deafening now, a chorus of voices urging her down into the darkness. Armed with a lantern, Emily descended the rickety wooden ladder. The air grew colder, damper. The darkness below was absolute. The lantern's light flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the stone walls. The whispers seemed to press in on her, smothering her. Finally, she reached the bottom, a small, earthen-floored cellar. In the centre, a wooden chest, bound in iron. Emily knew instinctively that the key lay within. As she reached for the chest, the whispers became a deafening roar. The house seemed to awaken around her. The floorboards groaned, the walls seemed to breathe, the air grew thick with malevolence. Emily felt a terror she had never known. She fumbled with the lock on the chest. Her fingers were numb, but she couldn't give up now. She had come too far. The whispers were in her head now, screaming. The chest creaked open. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, lay a single tarnished key. But as Emily reached for it, the floor seemed to dissolve beneath her. She fell, screaming, into the darkness. The whispers surrounded her, pulling her down, 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 and then silence. Emily's lantern rolled across the floor, finally coming to a stop. The whispers were gone. The house was still again, silent, waiting. Because Emily was not the first to be lured to the house, and she would not be the last. The house fed on fear, on curiosity. It drew people in, whispered its secrets, and then claimed them. The key lay gleaming in the lantern light, waiting for the next soul brave enough, or foolish enough, to unlock the secrets beneath the floorboards.